ready, set, go.
Yeah, whole team on a loose, kick it up like Kung Fu, untamed, yeah, cool, running plays like who knew, hella fast when I slide through, you would've thought we was in a zoo, engine roar like a lion do.
Go, get ready, set, go.
This is literally my home from home, my office from my office, my therapy, my gymnasium. You know, I spend every spare minute in here. This is truly my church. The affectionately known GT team, Army GT team headquarters. This is what is known in the military as a motor club, and it's a bit of a welfare facility for the serving personnel. I've been in this motor club for 10 years. It's on a RAF base just south of Bedford, and it's 10 minutes from where I live, so it's ideal. I've been working out of here since I had the Civic, through every iteration of race car that I've had. And this is, on the face of it, a team looks like a professional, full-on team, right? But when you scratch beneath the surface, this is where all the behind-the-scenes work takes place, and 90% of that is me on my own. The teams that we're competing against, it is 90% of those teams, it is the team's full-time job to manage that car during the week, and get it to the race weekend and manage it for the drivers through the race weekend. But it is literally me on my Todd 90% of the time. And because we're all serving soldiers, we wear full-time jobs. So, and the guys from the team are spread all over the country, so it's difficult for the guys to get here, to get the time to get here to help out with the car. It's no shake on the mechanics, but it's just the reality of it. I have to spend every spare minute I have, and I literally set up an office in there to work from home. And when I'm not on my laptop doing meetings or whatever work I need to be doing, I'm grafting on this because it needs every spare second I have to do that. And guys have been out to help with the car since it's been damaged. JC, Josh have been down to help with some of the repairs. I've got Sean coming on Saturday, hopefully, to help out. I appreciate the help. And I do really need it, but a lot of the time I'm just better off on my own, getting into the space and cracking on. And I think really I'm going to take this opportunity to give a bit of a shout out to my wife. I've been spending increasing amounts of time here instead of being at home, and she's not complained once. She's actually, if she's got time, she comes and helps me, just potting around, cleaning up behind me, doing some heavy lifting with me, whatever's required, and I'm truly grateful to her for that, and I can't thank her enough for that, and I owe her, some nice dates or holidays or whatever it might be. So yeah, thank you to my wife to, just supporting me through this really, because it's definitely taken time away from time that I should be spending at home with her, and I'm sure she feels it, but she's never said anything to that fact, so I really appreciate it. So some of the eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that the air jack mount is missing off of here, or the complete air jack assembly. So that was pretty much the only thing on the car that's integral to the frame that was damaged. It's not part of the structure of the frame, but it's something that is welded to the frame. So unfortunately it was just bent up so much, it was beyond repair. So what I've had to do is cut it off. And I did start to try and make my own one because it's just like three sides of a box that are folded around with a pipe through the middle, and you'll see in a second the air jack goes through that. I just don't really have the proper tool in here to do that nicely, and like I said before, I don't want anything half-assed on this car. Like, I want this car back to how it was, so I just didn't have the equipment to do that properly. So what I did was I found out, like, there's all over the country there's these metal fabrication shops that do laser cutting, and you simply send them a CAD file and they will effectively cut it out and send it back to you, which is great, except I didn't know how to draw in CAD or use CAD software. So I spent a late afternoon and evening the other night learning how to use the software, and actually it's pretty straightforward. It's a bit overwhelming when you first load it up, but it's pretty straightforward, especially in 2D. Yeah, drew it up to the measurements that I've got, and on the bench I now have the laser cut part, so we need to put that together. Yeah, so here's the original air jack mount, and it's just been bent completely out of shape. It's pretty much twisted across 3 planes, and you could probably try and massage it back into shape, but it'd never look right, and really I'd say the strength of that has been taken away somewhat. So yeah, as we just discussed, really, this is the laser cut part that I had done. I also told them where I wanted it bending on a 90-degree plane, and I already had a piece of pipe that I could use, so that will effectively just go straight through the centre there. Real lovely, nice tolerance fit. I need to weld that in now, and that's that assembly done and put together. Then we need to weld that on the car. What's key for putting it on the car is that it goes on perfectly square, so that the air jack can strike the ground perfectly perpendicular to the car, so it's a positive upward motion, as opposed to any sort of weird angles and it's trying to push the car backwards or forwards or whatever. It's just unsafe, and it puts a lot of stress on parts. So yeah, this is going to take a little bit of time. It's a lot of sort of fettling and gently grinding bits away and getting that flush fit that I need, but the first thing I need to do is weld this up. So yeah, it's been 4 weeks since the crash, right? And it's just been a blur of work. It's felt like, a mountain of work to get the car ready. And I suppose it has been, really. There was a lot of damage to the car. I think we established at the end of Spa, like, the frame was straight. That was the key thing. But the way the car's designed, when it crashes, it just sheds everything off of the frame to save the frame. So there was a lot of work, and the first part of that was finding the spares, because we were pricing up the spares through Ginetta, and it was exceeding 15 grand for the bits that we needed. The problem is, because those spares are expensive and they can only come from Ginetta, the teams that hold spares don't want to let them go because they cost money and they're going to need them at some point. So, I did, in the first week after Spa, I think I drove like 20 hours around the country just picking up bits from various people, drawing cash out on my credit card to pay for it, because that's what we had to do. We had no float of cash behind us to make it happen. So yeah, the first part was like collating all the spares, and then whatever was left over, which was still to the tune of like nearly 6 grand, was an invoice through Ginetta, parts from Ginetta, just to finish the build, and then a few odds and sods here and there. Some bits, I've managed to like reverse engineer, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, to alleviate the costs from Ginetta and just make it myself. Some bits I've just refurbished myself or repaired, but really I don't want this car to be deteriorated in how it was when we started this season. I want this car to finish the season as we started it, so I'm trying to replace things like for like, and repair or reinvigorate bits where I can. Another shout out I really want to give is to Raceworks Motorsport. They're just down the road from here, and ever since our endeavour with this Ginetta, they've been truly on side and just always given me advice and help. They lent me like suspension parts just to get the car back on 4 wheels so we could roll it around, to get it to one of the engagement events that we did at Alton Park. And actually they really helped me out with a lot of spares as well for this, and they've just always been, Mike, who runs Raceworks, has always been so spot on with us, and I can't thank him enough as well. And thanks again to the other teams that have actually not given us but sold us some of the spares as well. So yeah, and that it's been my priority above everything else for the past 4 weeks, because we are now into the last week. I've got this weekend and a few days next week, and then we're meant to be testing on Thursday. So yeah, the time crunch is on, but I think I can finally see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel with it. I know where the finish line is and I know what's needed now to get there. And it's a fair chunk of work, but it's not unachievable. It's going to come down to like, can we actually make the car look pretty again in terms of like wrapping it and all the finer details with the car before we get to Snet? I don't know, but will the car be running straight and ready to race? Yes, I think it will be. It just might be missing some of the finesse off the top of it. So this is the air jack, and quite simply this slots through here and is clamped at either end. This locking ring just winds all the way down into the top and clamps it down, but I just wanted to make sure that fits through there nicely. We've got a slight bit of play, which is what we need, which is what the other one has. But the key point is that once that's clamped down, that sits perfectly square inside there. It's not getting hung up on anything, and it's going to push down in a straight motion. Just need to get this on the car now. Snetterton, we're back as a free driver team at Snet, which is great, so we'll have Josh back on board. I don't think the plan's going to change for Snet. If anything, I think we need to plan to be mid-pack for Snet, because Snetterton's a very stop-start circuit. It's a lot of hairpins. It favours powerful cars. This car needs high-speed flowing circuits to carry speed through the corners, whereas Snet is quite tight and technical with a lot of long straights. So I think we're going to struggle there anyway, and eating some more humble pie for the team or for the drivers. I think we just need to take a step back and just get the car to the finish clean, and I'm getting a bit sick of my own voice with saying that, because we're not achieving it, and I'm not sure what we need to change to make that happen, to just reel ourselves in a bit and be like, look, let's just calm down, enjoy the race. Maybe the race will come to us with that old cliche, but let's just get to the finish and score some decent points. We can't afford now to drop any more rounds. We've obviously dropped race 2 at Spa, and I know we finished the race, but Alton Park we effectively dropped a lot of points because we were so far behind. So we can't afford to drop any more races where we're not scoring good points, or we're just going to drop off any chances with the championship. So yeah, I don't think the plan's going to change. I just think we need to work out how we can just relax it a little bit. I spoke to the drivers recently about, when did you feel like the car felt like its best? You felt comfortable in driving the car, what setup felt good for them? And I think we all kind of agreed it was right back at the start, Donington, because effectively the car was on the base Ginetta setup, which I'd imagine they give to their customers to be quite a safe and stable setup. Might not be the fastest, but it feels good. So I'm probably going to run the car back to its base Ginetta setup, and yeah, we'll go with that really. I think at Spa I spoke about making the car slick for the long straights and all of that. We're not going to do that. We're just going to run the car safe, make sure the driver's got a cool head, even though it's probably going to be a 35-degree heat wave again. So yeah, I think we just need, and especially with Ted, a bit of a TP chat, team principal chat, just to not egg anyone on. We're not going to worry about lap times as much as I really want to get a sub 2 minute lap at Snet. In the Ferrari I did a 2 minute 0.4. I was looking the other day, and I'd love to just go 1:59 something, but let's not talk about that. We're not going to worry about that. If it happens, it happens. Yeah, we'll that's the plan. And of course, just make sure the car's working. Yeah, we're testing Thursday, like I said, and then we've got Friday to make any minor tweaks to the car. Might even mean I have to bring it back here to do some repairs that I just didn't realise that needed doing because there's been so much work. And then we're into it Saturday. the key thing with Saturday as well, which I'm sure we'll chat about on the day, like there's no 60 minutes free practice on Saturday. We've got quali and then we're into the race and that's it. So yeah, it's going to be fast and furious. We've got, how many days have we got? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. A week, 7 days to get this car finished and running again. Physical jobs, there's not too many. Like I need to remake the air jack mount. Once that's done, then I can get all the exhausts back together, which I need to do a bit of rebuilding. You might see some silencers over my shoulder. We've got a few cooling items to go in on the front. All of the fluids need bleeding, coolant, power steering, brakes. And I think that's really the bulk of it. You know, so that doesn't sound like a lot, but it just, the time for that adds up. I'm hoping by Sunday, the car's going to be running and driving again, and I can do a little test run outside just to make sure the systems are working, ABS, traction control, etc. Make sure the engine's okay, the gearbox, clutch after the accident. And then we're into what would be a normal pre-race week setup, you know, getting the car balanced, doing the alignment, and any other minor tweaks that I need to do. So it's definitely achievable as long as we don't hit any snags on the way.